Well, for families with loved ones battling cancer, coping can be difficult. When parents are dealing with a health scare of this magnitude, it can have a long-lasting negative impact on their children. That's why Companions for Children is launching a pilot program to help. It pairs adult volunteers with similar experiences with cancer to children for mentorship. Planning for this began in January thanks to an idea from the Trinity Health Foundation. There was a need to provide services to more than just the patient themselves, and Companions for Children was the perfect fit. People who are interested in volunteering will fill out an application online. The staff will follow up and they will go through an enrollment process. At that point, the children will be matched to the volunteer accordingly.
We are essentially matchmakers in that we look at all different areas when we are matching a mentor and a mentee together, their personal history, maybe preferences, things like that.
Heather says this is only the third program of this kind in the country.
Seeing it kind of come to fruition and start getting ready to the part where we can roll this out for the community, it's just so exciting, and I think it'll make a huge impact.
Companions for Children has been around since 1972 and has 4 other programs that serve the community. You can learn more about them as well as sign up to volunteer on their website, companionsforchildren.org.